Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here again. Thank you for clicking on this video. The other day, I came across a woman, or she came across, I don't know how you want to say it, but our paths had crossed at a donation center. And she was donating her son's army clothes. Well, first she said she was donating her some army clothing. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And she goes, yeah, the army clothing. I'm like, oh. I said, oh, that's pretty neat. That's, cool. And then she goes, yeah, they were my son's. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess he doesn't want them anymore. I might have made some comment about, kids, they move on and next thing. And she told me he died. And, I told her I'm sorry. I'm like anything else, anytime you hear someone say something like that, condolences, sorry for their loss. And then she told me it took her 10 years to take his name off of the army uniform. And I'm guessing this woman and she wasn't a 90-year-old woman. She was maybe, my guess is 50, right in that area, maybe mid-50s. And I thought to myself, 10 years. So, he was a young man, and she lost her son. And she had no idea what to do with that uniform. So I told her I would take that uniform. I said, well, I have a son, and he likes collecting these things, and he has a great respect for the people who serve this country. I know some of you have watched some of my other videos. You know how I feel about the military and how it's not what it was, and we're not fighting for this country. We're fighting for everybody else. But that's not the point of this video. But there are people who think they are doing what's right, and they're trying to protect their country, and I applaud them for that. But sorry, I just looked behind me. There's a car stopped behind me. I apologize. Thought I was way off in the corner parking lot. But it took her 10 years. And then she showed me her license plate with his name on it. It said Angel and then his name. I'm not going to say his name. And I thought to myself, how sad. And she was very much just stuck there. Now, some people would have started going, oh, well, have you heard about Jesus? Would you heard about the Bible? That's not a moment for that. This was a moment to listen to a woman and unburden, for lack of better phrasing, herself in that moment. To make that moment as easy as possible in the transition of these clothing. So I promised her I'd take them home, and they would get a good home, and they would find respect. And that's what she needed at that moment. Yes, I could have given her a Bible and all of this, but that's not always how we bring the gospel. I'm sure I'll probably see her again. And maybe that's when. And I might have been wearing my Jesus hat. I wear my Jesus hat sometimes when I'm at the donation center. Unless it's really, really hot and then I'm like sweating like crazy on it, But sometimes listening is bringing the gospel. And I cried after she left, of course. It broke my heart because I have boys. I have 3 boys. And, well, there's another one. There's a 4th one, but he's not really mine. He's older from my wife's previous life. And he breaks my heart. And he's not my real child. Because I see that tears my wife up inside of how he's chosen to live his life and how he pretends to be for God, and he's just in mass confusion. And that's because of what's going on in the world today. You're inundated with all these things. It's easier to fulfill your desires and follow the Lord. And when you have no discipleship and you're unable to discern, it's a difficult thing. And I fear that he one day will leave this earth not truly knowing Jesus And I know that'll break my wife's heart, and that makes me sad. And I have a son, an older son, and he's on that halfway ground. He's like, got one leg over here, one leg over here, you know. You want to push him over, but you don't want to, you can't do that. The two younger ones will be fine. But gospel, bringing the gospel to somebody sometimes isn't just quoting scripture in that moment. It's listening. It's making them feel comfortable. Because if they feel comfortable when you're listening and you really feel that you respect what they're doing or talking about that moment, and you understand, or at least you attempt to understand. I mean, if you haven't lost someone, you can't truly understand. You'll find them again. The Lord will make it happen. I don't think it was an accident that she showed up on that day in that moment. I really don't. I believe the Lord placed me there in that moment in time and situation. Because then somebody else would have just been like, yeah, man, I'm just throwing it over there in the bin. They just go in there and just all clothing. But she clearly, that moment, that day, had made this decision, and there was no one to validate. There was no one to I don't want to say talk her through it, but to be there. Someone had to be there in that moment. And God put me there. And you never know when God's going to use you, or what for. So I don't want to make this video too long, but you don't have to always beat someone over the head with the Bible or even quote a scripture, because that moment of kindness will drop a seed for her to be back, and then the opportunity for gospel will be there if it's your job. If it's not, God will put somebody else in that position. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. God bless. I love you. Have a great day.